Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Day with Trae. I'm Alicia and I am guest hosting this week. And I decided that today's guest should be another friend of mine from Snohomish County, Mr. Dr. Steve Woodard. How are you, my friend?
I am outstanding.
Thanks
no doubt about it.
Thanks for joining us down here at the Converge Media Studios today.
Well, let me begin by just saying what an honor to even be in this space, because it's very humbling to be in such a beautiful, well thought out, Black-centric space. I'm going to leave it at space.
Yes. Now, you have so many titles, so I'm just going to hit on two of them now.
Fair enough.
So, Councilmember in Mountlake Terrace, and you are actually up for re-election, unopposed.
Humbled, yes.
And then you are also the VP of Community Engagement
I am.
with Volunteers of America, Western Washington.
I am. So both those roles are absolutely amazing, but pale in comparison to the two we were talking about before we came on, which is I'm also father, husband, and now a grandfather.
Now, granddad, congratulations.
Yeah.
2 months
thank
in
you.
now.
I am pretty good at it, so no, I'm kidding. I have no idea how I'm at it. I hope I am. I look forward to being a great grandfather.
So you're doing a ton of stuff up in Snohomish County.
Oh, very kind.
You really are, and I love it. And anything, I mean, again, all the things that you do, the other thing that you're also known for is being a Seattle Storm super fan. If
For
you,
sure.
VIP season ticket holder. If anyone's ever gone to a game and seen a person walking around with their camera, that is you. So
Yes.
such a well-rounded individual.
Yes, and when I'm on the light rail too, you might end up on there
Yes.
as well. Yes, let me back that up and say there was another title we didn't go with a buddy gave me, which is the ubiquitous Dr. Steve, because I appear to be everywhere.
You are.
I admit I am involved in a lot. In fact, I would say get involved. If you remember nothing else about me, that is the two words to always
true.
associate with me. I think if you look back through time,
That's
there's
your
not a
hashtag.
single person that would deny that that is what we remember about him. That and my smile, thankfully, which has only somehow gotten wider. This vitiligo, interesting enough. That said, what an honor to firstly be running unopposed. I'll start there. I'm at Mountlake Terrace, and so for folks who are unfamiliar with Snohomish County, but maybe very familiar with King County, we're the first city that you hit when you hit Snohomish County. So I like to refer to us as the gateway city, or quite frankly, a beautiful destination city, but the gateway to Snohomish County, which is just a beautiful county in and of itself, especially around Blackness.
Yes.
Let me just start by saying in the state, Olympia, we're the only delegation, the 44th, that's all black.
Right.
Senator in both of our House of Representatives. So just kind of putting that out there. But we are also in just about every city you can think of. If not behind the dais as an elected, we're probably in other port commissioners, fire commissioners, you name it, throughout Snohomish County, and very proud of that. So for me to be running unopposed, especially out of Mountlake Terrace, I will start by saying I love Mountlake Terrace, absolutely love it. But also the things you love, you should also hold up to the light and make sure they're what you think they are. And that's what I would say we've been doing, at least in my time of being involved, which is about the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Last 6 or 7 on council, but last 20 years for sure. I tried to get involved immediately. But I start that to point out that Mountlake Terrace's history is very interesting. And I will just say that I live in a house that was redlined. We were just going through our planning, grand planning, if you will, for the state, our Vision 44. And we were doing the history of it. And here I was a liaison for this community group. And here we put this map up, and there was my house, which means, literally only white people could have bought that house. It's, in the code. It's out now, but nonetheless, to kind of recognize that history to where here we find ourselves going back to that election. Not only do you have me running unopposed, which is deeply humbling.
Right.
But we have 2 other seats that are open out of 4 that are open, and they have very viable black candidates. One actually is already in the seat. He
Right.
was appointed. Now he has to be elected, and I'm wishing him well. And the other person's a challenger to one of the open seats, or excuse me, one of the seats that has an incumbent in it. But you may, at this time next year, if you will, have 3 sitting African Americans in a city that was not designed for us.
That is amazing.
It really is deeply humbling to know that somehow my name is associated with that, let alone that somehow I'm kind of at the apex. Honored to say I'm not the first African American. I'm the second to
Right.
sit on the council. Brother Williams in the 80s, back when I was in high school, to put that in context, people.
Right.
He served a term or 2, and then there was a long time until I came on.
Yeah.
So in that regard, we've come a long way to go, but definitely honored to somehow have my name associated with that.
Well, I'm glad you said that because that encapsulates one of the main reasons I wanted you to be here as a guest is because I think people will come to me sometimes and say, there's black people in Snohomish County?
Yeah.
What at?
Yeah.
And then what are they doing up there and how are they leading the way? And of course, you're
Yeah.
one of the first names I think about
Oh, thank you.
when I talk about that. And especially with the work that you're also doing with Wally Webster and a
Sure.
few others. Why don't you talk about that group?
Yeah, so as I started by, really just probably boasting about the black folks in government, the reality is we also have a number of amazing mentors ahead of us. You just mentioned one, Wally Webster.
Donnie
I could do Donnie
Griffin.
Griffin. I mean, there's a long list of folks that we can name. That's before you go to the cloth. The bishops that we have, and it's the reverends, right? So pulling back just a little bit to try to get closer to your answer, what are we doing? What we discovered is what aren't we doing? Very recently, I just named myself in there, Wally, Donnie, and myself, Donnie, Wally, and myself. We started a group called the African American Leaders and Professional Network. And I bring that up to say that, we were just having lunch together. We would have lunch separately, or, in two, whatever you call that,
Yeah.
dyads or whatever. But it was like amazing, the 3 of us having lunch together at the same time in the same location. Who could have thought we could pull that off? But from that said, where is everybody? Because we know they're here because we would see each other in pockets, but not collectively. And so we started this, quite frankly, I want to call it a volunteer group because I want to talk about volunteerism, but really it was just hey, we put the call out there.
Yeah.
And folks like yourself showed up. I could name folks nobody would know necessarily, but just know a lot of folks came up, and they were presidents of universities,
Yes.
presidents of the college systems, CEOs, they were executive directors. Of course, we're all throughout the ranks, so we definitely have your frontline workers as well, elected officials, you name it, and it was just one of those where we came together. We did that 2 years ago with a very simple approach. We're going to do it once in the South Snohomish County, and then we'll do the kind of northern end of South Snohomish County. Don't get it twisted, everybody. We're still in the South.
Yeah.
We arbitrarily broke it up to say we're going to go north on the I-5, then south on the I-5 to make it accessible for folks.
Right.
And I would say for not having any real membership in the sense of all you did was you gave us your name, and we tell you the date, and then you show up. We have now our 14th, I think, coming up. We are rarely under 30 people showing up every time. The amazing guests that we've had, we've done Narcan trainings. We just did a focus group with Washington State Department of Transportation, WSDOT. It's a rare opportunity to just come and be, but also still be moving things forward. But to your point about what are we doing, if I can bring it back on myself,
Sure.
I'm an executive for a nonprofit. And when I say, you have folks that are leading institutions and on executive teams and starting opportunities themselves, it's, well, what is the result that we're doing? And so I'll talk just briefly about mine, which is I'm with Volunteers of America, Western Washington. And in the South Snohomish County area, Linwood specifically, we have an amazing facility that we're bringing online called the
Yes.
Linwood Neighborhood Center. We first started calling it a South Snohomish County resource and a Snohomish County resource. Now we're just calling it a regional resource because the more and more people who learn about it, the more they want to be involved in it. But really break that down and just start by saying it's 40,000 square feet
It's huge.
devoted to love, dignity, and respect for our most vulnerable population. It has partnerships that you wouldn't imagine because these organizations have their own focus, but we overlap. And so in essence, we've done what universities and colleges have been trying to do their whole life, make it a one-stop shop. So in that regard, in that 40,000 square feet, as you know, we serve the lifespan, early childhood learning all the way up to respite care.
Yeah.
Commercial kitchen will be in there for the folks that are trying to have startups but don't have a kitchen and can't travel. There are not as many commercial kitchens around that are accessible as people would like to think. Event space, there'll be that. There'll be a tech lab in there. And again, when I go back to the partners, in addition to VOA, you got the Boys and Girls Club, you got Cocoon House. What I really appreciate is it's also very culturally specific. So you have Korean community services in there, you have Latino Education Training Institute, but then we pulled back and we also just thought about behavioral health specifically. So we'll have a wellness center up there. Which actually we hope to run wellness the entire way, be that dentistry, be that actual physical blood checks, you name that. That's things that we'll be doing. We're trying to actually find a provider, a medical provider to be in that space. But that said, we have behavioral health. So we have a Center for Human Services will be there, which they do a lot of work. And in fact, they have a request already to have more of a footprint in the building because they just see that this is going to be an amazing space. What I didn't say is the partnership. It begins with, it was a church. It's on the grounds of Trinity Lutheran Church and Schools. This was their vision, easily 15 years back, depending on the parishioner you talk to, might go further back. But from that, they have always kind of invested in their community, and they said, what can we do with this land? It's a part of their land, but it's just sitting over there. It had a commercial space for a little bit there, but then all that was raised, I think is the expression, and now this building sits there because it's just a better use. But it's also right in the heart of, I think, not necessarily commerce, but transportation, which is more important, I think, in this conversation.
I was just going to bring that up. I love that it's right off of Highway 99.
Yeah, so 99 and 196. If you know that crossroad, and literally there's a shopping center there called the Crossroads, so you get lost. Look up the Crossroads. But for folks that also know that area, not only is light rail just a hop, skip, not even need for a jump, but they have several of the committed lines. So the blue line crosses, the orange line crosses, and then there's also just other bus services that are there. Depending on where you are, arguably it's walking distance on a good day. We live in the Pacific Northwest, so that's about 3 days out of the year. But just let people know I'm not this serious all the time. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful space, and there's a playground outside. There's a gym. I mean, we started with the community. What do you need? And then built out from there. They said we need a place to be. So if I go back to that partnership, it's got all forms of government at every level, federal level. Am I talking too much about this? You can see I love this building.
That's
every
why
level
I
of
brought you
government.
here. I want you to talk about it.
And private folks are involved. Actually, one of our largest supporters is Rick Steves. I think folks might be familiar with
that guy.
I've heard the name.
You know him.
But there's an example of just a committed social activist who recognizes need and how to get involved. He happens to be he is a member of Trinity Lutheran Church and Schools, but it wasn't a board, get on board immediately. This was a lot of conversations, but it just makes sense. And then, like I say, I named all of the not all of the nonprofits, but quite a few of the nonprofits. And there's folks that are just interested. We'll have hot desks in there as well, so you can bring your folks with you that you have the honor of serving with, and keep doing your work online. Yes, we'll be connected. But to tie that back to Rick Steves, it's also just a place to be. And I think that that's the real magic of the place. Everything that I named, you may have thought, I need money for, I need an appointment for, I need this, that, or the other. But the reality is, no, it's a building just to walk into and be. So at the center of it all is a piazza, and that goes back to Rick Steves.
Yes, and that's very much Rick Steves.
Very much so, and bless him for it, right? Because the things that we have learned from our travels usually make you want to go back to your country and just be mad. And instead, he came back and said, what can we do about this? And so in that regard, we created a space, right? And so I do want to give credit where credit is due. But again, when I pull back, there's just so many people that are involved. I've been pretty clear with folks. My background actually is higher ed. And I made a decision to leave higher ed because of this building. It was an opportunity to help bring it into fruition, and I couldn't turn that down. Everything this building was trying to do is what I was trying to do in higher ed for the last 3 decades. Usually met with resistance, and here were folks that not only were open to it, we're trying to figure out how to get involved. Going back to that playground, the Rotaries, and we've got 5 or 6 of them in our areas, came together. I don't actually think they ever talked to each other, and yet they came together to talk to each other and say, how can we support this? And now they've got this amazing space just outside the building that used to be a parking lot and dirt.
One of the things I love about this project is that it kind of epitomizes for me the sense of we're better together.
Yeah.
Especially in this current fiscal climate and with organizations that rely on governmental funding to underwrite certain things. Whereas, to your point, I think there are times where similar groups would just kind of silo themselves out and just kind of go for their one thing. And now this has kind of pushed us in that space of, let's do this together. Let's
Yeah.
pool our resources. We're trying to achieve the same goals. So why not do that together?
Yeah.
And to nerd out a little bit is that, so I've gone on 3 of the hard hat tours for a couple of different reasons. One, because I just love seeing the progression and seeing it built. And then as someone who became an adult-ish in Silicon Valley, I got exposed to the first kind of LEED certified green building initiatives before I moved up here in 2014. So it was also been cool to see that being incorporated into this building.
And I'll up it, right? This idea of we're better together. This will be the best practice of that, because at the end of it all, we are a nonprofit. And everybody that I named in that building so far is a nonprofit.
Yes.
And the major point of that, as you said, the funding is starting to slip. In some cases, get snatched. But we'll just call it slipping for now. That said, this 40,000 square foot building, its primary resource is going to be volunteers.
Yes.
At the end of it all, we can put a community resource, but it begins with the community. This is your resource. You don't get to just drive by it and be like, oh, they're doing great work over there. You should see yourself in that building. And if we put it back in this time of slipping versus getting snatched, there's a lot of feelings of helplessness out there. Like, what can I do? This is it. And it doesn't have to be the Linwood Neighborhood Center. Volunteering is truly the most precious commodity that we have right now. Your time. Right? Most people don't volunteer because they don't have the time.
Yeah.
And so, are you sure? Because again, when you look at that, and I pull back, I just did a sermon, so I'm kind of in my head thinking I said this out loud already, which is when we look at volunteerism, it is, and I'm going to use a big word here, scientifically. Yeah, I'm teasing. Science shows you volunteerism literally has a physiological impact on you. Endorphins, you name it. Just happy, everything happy comes from that. Anecdotally, we hear that when folks who come, do whatever it is we had as the event, and on the way out, they'll admit, my friend dragged me here, and I'm so happy they did. But I was kicking and screaming on the way in, and now I can't wait. You're going to do this again? Which is to say, people are very happy to volunteer, but usually after they've volunteered.
Right.
And it's like, well, okay, that's get a job, you get experience, you can't get a job until you have experience. Wait a minute, what's happening here?
But it also comes in various forms, right? Like even after you're done here with us today, you're going to go give your 80th?
Yes. So,
yeah.
to that point about volunteerism, right? And there's so many ways to get involved. As much as I want you to get involved in the Linwood Neighborhood Center or one of our other programs, which is easy to do, by the way, lots of volunteer opportunities out there. Every nonprofit needs help. Let's be straight. Every food bank needs help.
Yes.
So, I mean, there again, going back to this idea of helplessness, if you think your doom scrolling is not having an effect, because it isn't, get involved, right? Going back to how I started this. If you remember nothing else about me, get involved is key here, right? And so in that regard, I think I might have lost the train here because I just love volunteering.
Well, like volunteering could be like taking a few
Oh, yeah, the
minutes to
80s,
go and
yeah.
donate blood.
Thank
or,
you. There
that
it was.
kind of thing,
Because it's such a part of me, I forgot that's what you wanted to say. Firstly, I'm mad I didn't wear my beautiful blood type socks because I didn't know you'd be able to see my socks. That's on me. But that said, yes, if all goes well, I will have donated today my 80th unit, which will be 10 gallons. My goal is to make it to that 100 wall. But that's a perfect example of just how, again, you're using your time. And it's a resource you already have, a lot of blood, and it's not as scary as people would think. I mean, they even tell you, look away if you don't like this part. I'm always staring at the needle. I love that part. I'm a little loopy that way, I suppose. But it genuinely is saving lives, and I work with Bloodworks Northwest. I donate through them. They've even made it to where they connect you to the story, so you don't just wonder, where did my unit go? They actually now have set that up to where folks who have received your unit, and that's not why you're necessarily doing it, but just kind of saying that you even now see the full picture. And so in that regard, less than 30 minutes of your time, my record donating is 3:38.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's all about hydration. But nonetheless, the point of that story is I don't know how many people that's necessarily helped, those 80 units, and that's just counted. I was an advocate back in the 80s when I was in California. But in the spirit of like, we are walking around this planet with all kind of ways that we can help, and we just don't think about it. But again, volunteering. And so I appreciate you putting Bloodworks Northwest in there, because that is in essence volunteering. I don't get paid for that. I would happily sign up to go and do this and know that they're going to need it. That's the other thing. One of the few things where this is going to be used in a positive sense somewhere down the line.
How close are we to the Linwood Neighborhood Center opening?
Yeah, so awesome. This is where it gets a little tricky, but for good reasons. So it's a gold LEED, L-E-E-D building. At least that's what we hope to, that's what we're aspiring for.
Right.
So the answer to your question is we expect to get the keys as early as next month, October, which is ahead of schedule. More power to everybody involved, GLY Construction is amazing. Our architects are amazing. But that said, they're a little bit ahead of schedule, so they hope to hand the keys over in October. But there's certain things that you have to do, and to keep it simple, air out the building.
Yes.
And what I've been telling people running it by them is, you know how we have that expression, that new car smell, like that used to be a thing, like that was a status.
Right.
Turns out that was killing you, and so it's one of those things where it's like, it's funny how we've
Motown.
converted things.
I grew up with that. It was like, that
was a
that
status
makes
symbol.
sense.
Yeah, was it though? So that said, we expect the building to be up and running officially to the public in January. And that's just so we do, in those couple months there, what's needed to bring it up to speed. But that said, the technology in there to bring it to gold LEED is worth visiting that building alone.
Yeah.
But the artwork that will be in there will be amazing. Of course, just the people in general. If you love community, you're going to find it there for sure.
Will they still be doing those tours ahead of the actual official opening?
Yes, so that is our plan. When we get those keys, and this is a good time to pause and remind you, we've been doing tours already, so although I made a joke about the fumes killing you, it's not that quick. Just teasing, but at the same time, we've been doing these tours. You said you've been on 3 yourself.
Right.
We anticipate ramping that up. We've been doing it once a month because we want them to finish. And then, as I think you know, we did a tour with the electeds at the beginning of the month, and then we shut it down so they can just power through. But then come October, once they hand those keys over, it's ours to do how we want. And you got at least tour guides, two on staff, 4, theoretically speaking, who have done the tours. And we would love to just ramp that up so people get excited about it.
Now, I anticipate, and it just popped into my head, so later this week is your Hope is Brewing event on Friday. Unfortunately, I can't be there for that. But I'm going to anticipate that you're going to cover some of that at the event.
Yeah, interesting enough, so this is probably a good time to pull back and say VOA is not just the Linwood Neighborhood Center. That's on me for pitching it that way. That's kind of like the culmination of it. We actually are across 8 service lines, so food banks, resource centers, child care, senior centers. I could go further, but the point of the story is this is our time to raise money across the organization. So we'll most likely, I'd never get a chance to, even though I've been the host for the last 5 years. I won't be this year. I won't this year. This year I will be in the audience. Very happy about that, actually, because it's beautiful, but I always have to watch it afterwards, and it's really such an impactful experience. But I have to kind of shield myself. And so this year we'll actually have a testimonial from one of the folks that we've had to serve. We were, when the Ukrainians had to flee their country, we received them here. We were part of that process with some of the other nonprofits. So I'm not sure what the story is going to be, but again, it will be spread out. But it's right down the street from Linwood. And so we do anticipate bringing a handful of people over who can't usually make it into the area to do a small tour after that event. And it's hard not to talk about it just because of the energy of it all, but I'm positive we'll probably be focusing on other parts of what the work we do.
Right, so it's Tuesday now, and the event's going to be this Friday. Is there still room for people to, if they wanted to sign up, to come and check out what Hope is Brewing is about? What do you want to tell them?
Yeah, so VOAWW, we haven't said Western Washington out loud, so it's telling me, Volunteers of America, Western Washington, because we are an affiliate, right? They're across the country. So voaww.org will bring you to our website. That will be the easiest way to learn about us if you don't have time for a breakfast. That said, we are pretty close, so I would say if somebody was really interested, they should probably reach out to me, and I'm sure just from attrition, we'd be able to get folks in. But we know from a programming perspective, we've ordered the food, we've got the table settings. We did break the 400 mark.
Oh, congratulations.
Hearing that we'd like to get higher than that, which makes me think, hey, it's only Tuesday, maybe we will let some folks in because the capacity is there. So to me, I would say if you're really interested, I would probably be the easiest person as our community engagement person to just reach out to, and I bet I can get you in the room.
And it's at the Linwood Event Center.
At the Linwood Event Center.
Okay.
That's another way to do it. Just barnstorm. Just roll in. We ain't going to tell you to go home if you ain't heard that from me. So.
Dr. Woodard, I know you don't like what I say, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
and I want to
you.
give you a moment, say if there's anything else you want to leave with the audience. The camera is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, again, thank you for this opportunity to just join this legacy of folks who've come before you on this platform. What an honor. That said, if I were to leave you with who am I and what am I about, I would say really 5 expressions I want you to kind of walk away with. Get involved. Always a reason to keep your head up. Teamwork makes the dream work. Dream bigger. And then lastly, which is new, and I mean this more sincerely in 2025 than ever before, protect your joy.
Yes.
This world is rough right now. We made a lot of progress. We are seeing it get reset to some horrible factory settings. And we're doing our part to make that not the reality, but at the end of the day, I think if you follow those 5 little steps, you will keep moving forward with us, and we can all kind of lock arms and get this world back where we want it. So again, thank you for this honor to join this beautiful legacy. I stayed away from most of my jokes, but no, I'm not usually this serious. But I would love to meet anybody who was inspired to say, hey, I'd want to know more about volunteering just in general, because again, how you use your time specifically right now is the most precious commodity you can have, and it's worth more than you can ever imagine.
And I was going to say, then people should follow your social media.
Oh, very kind.
And so Dr. Steve Bob, is that across the...
I'm not that good because I'm old, so I got to work on that. But
I know your TikTok is Dr. Steve Bob.
Yeah.
So start there.
Yeah.
And then you'll see a lot of his personality.
Yeah, I'm so old that on LinkedIn, I actually, if you do Steve Woodard, I'm the first person because I don't own that domain, but you can change it from that long strand into something else. And all the Steve Woodards in the world hadn't thought to do that yet. So you can find me that way. And like I said, TikTok, I'm on Facebook, whatever, all those good stuff.
Yeah, so please, seriously, follow him. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this conversation. I'm Alicia Crank again. I will see you tomorrow on The Day with Trae. Take care.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.